Hi everybody, welcome to Pharmacology for Nursing. This is Professor Miller and I welcome you to the course. I'm going to go over a brief overview over the course syllabus, which looks at Part A and Part B of the syllabus for pharmacology. So this is Nursing 3041. It was formerly known as Nursing 308, so you may see that on your plan of study. Part A of the course syllabus is more general towards the School of Nursing. It has factors like your grade points, letter grades, different things with the School of Nursing handbook, and so on. So obviously it's a 3-credit course. It's a fully online course, and I'll kind of go through the course calendar in Part B, which kind of gives you more of a detailed picture of how the course kind of runs. Obviously it runs over a full semester, over from September to December. There is a prerequisite for the course, which is pathophysiology. This course essentially focuses on major categories of drugs, application of pharmacology-related concepts related to nursing practice. So we'll take a look at different factors like pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, pharmacotherapeutics, and all this is related to major drug classes, which is what we'll take a look at through the course. So a lot of it too, you have to remember a lot of your pathophysiology and your physiology to help you understand the pharmacology. And I'll briefly touch base on this in Part B of the course syllabus as well. In terms of course objectives, we will also take a look at this in Part B. So I'm going to briefly skim through Part A of the syllabus because I will go through this in Part B. So you can go ahead and take a look at that and read that on your own. Same thing with the essential content. These are just areas that we're going to cover throughout the course. Technical requirements, I'm sure you're all familiar with this, and there's e-learning that's available through the Oakland University website. And in Part B, I do have phone numbers for support lines, such as WebEx or the e-lists. And if you have any difficulty, they're definitely willing to help you. So just some information in regards to technical requirements. The big thing is obviously making sure that you have a good connection when you go to take a quiz or an exam, so that you don't have any issues when you go to take it. It is recommended that you use a regular computer, not your phone or an iPad or anything like that, because it does change the layout of the course, but you can kind of tell this when you look at it on your own. Obviously, you probably know how to log into Moodle at this point in time since you're viewing this. If you have any difficulty, once again, you can contact eList as well. Academic conduct, this is related to the School of Nursing and Oakland University as a whole. There is the Oakland University School of Nursing handbook that goes over academic conduct, which does apply to this course. There is the American with Disabilities Act, so if you need any special accommodations, there is a phone number down below that you can request if you need special accommodations with testing and so on. So there's some phone numbers here if you need to contact somebody. In terms of perception of faculty teaching and effectiveness, we really appreciate you filling out forms in terms of the teaching and the course in general and how effective it was. This is how we use, or this is how we gauge how the course is, how it's running, or what changes we need to make. So we definitely appreciate your time, filling out these evaluation forms. I do add course surveys within our own course, just for more detailed feedback, and I'll let you know when I have those up to, just so that you can provide some feedback if you wish. All of it's anonymous, obviously. Student nurse professionalism. Once again, this is all related back towards our handbook from the School of Nursing, which you can get on our website. And it all stems from the scope and standards of practice for registered nurses and the American Nurses Association. So just wanted to briefly touch on that. In terms of ATI requirements, in terms of testing for this course, it used to be required for pharmacology. Given the way that it's set up currently with you taking it prior to enrollment into the actual, official enrollment into the program, it placed it a little bit difficult arena, essentially, and now we've actually changed it so that you don't take the ATI for pharmacology within the course. The ATI testing, you'll get more information on this once you enter the program, or actually when you go to orientation, they'll talk to you about ATI testing. ATI testing essentially is integrated within various courses throughout the nursing program. And essentially, it's all about preparation for your state boards or your NCLEX. And they give you a lot of materials that you can supplement, your studying and all that for different courses. And then they have ATI testing that coordinates with specific courses, essentially. So right now, just disregard this, obviously, for ATI testing. I do have an ATI test, or it's not a test, I shouldn't say test, it's an ATI booklet or text that you can use as a resource if you would like. I placed it at the very top of our course Moodle site, and you can utilize this if you want, if you're studying. It's just another extra resource that I added on there. Emergency preparedness. This you can go ahead and review on your own. Obviously, it's an online course, but if you do have on-campus courses, it's important to make sure that you have that emergency number in your contact list. And there's different procedures that you can review at the OU Police Department as well, online, that you can view. One important area that I wanted to mention in Part A of the course syllabus, because I know most of you just got recently finished up with pathophysiology. We recently had a change in the grade conversion scale, and this is actually a university-wide policy change. It's not just the School of Nursing. We're going to letter grades. So instead of having, like a 3.5 or a 3.6, it's going to go to letter grading. So this is the current grading scale that's approved through the university and through the School of Nursing. And one major change, too, that you got to make sure you're aware of is that all nursing courses, you have to have a minimum of a 75% in the course to pass, which is equivalent to like a 2.7. So make sure that, obviously you're staying above that 75% mark, which is obviously right here, like a B minus. So that applies to all School of Nursing courses. So just something to keep in mind. Next, let's take a look at Part B. So this is Part B of the course syllabus. Once again, this is more tailored towards the course, and it gives us more specific information in regards to that. I do have my office location on here at 2031 Human Health Building. At any point, if you want to meet in person, I'm definitely willing to do that. We'll set it up with whatever works on your end and my end. We'll just try to figure out a time. With online courses, we do have the options of doing WebEx, so that's another area that you can always think about too. And I'm always willing to help students. I'll always, meet you online or meet you whenever you need it. So just don't feel hesitant to reaching out to me. I'm always open to helping students and working with you. My email is crmiller23@oakland.edu. For the course, I do prefer that we use the internal course email. Just because it does keep it more organized, and I don't want to miss anything if it goes to my regular OU email account. It just keeps it more organized according to courses that I'm teaching. So use that internal email section that's noted within our Moodle site. However, I don't have a problem if it's an urgent matter and you need to get a hold of me. Obviously, please feel free to use my OU email account. Office hours, like I mentioned, at any point during the semester, I'm willing to help you with whatever it may be. I do schedule WebExes prior to our midterm and final, and it's actually a great way to, go over information. I can share my screen with you. Basically, it facilitates lifetime discussion. So I do put up more information about that as the date gets closer. Course description, like I mentioned, we look at the basic pharmacologic principles, pharmacologic actions, and we look at major drug classification. So that's an important area to kind of remember, because we look at that major overall drug class. And when you look at the pharmacology study tip page, there's a file on there on the main Moodle site. And it kind of gives you an idea of how to study pharmacology, because you really have to learn those major drug classifications, not study every single little individual drug. It'll make more sense as we move through the content. But basically, this will lay that foundation for nursing management of drug therapy. So throughout the course, we look at these major drug classes, and then we also look at specific drug prototypes that fall underneath it. And we do go by systems, so like you'll notice in the calendar, it'll go by like cardiac, respiratory, endocrine. At the beginning, it's a little bit different because we have to go through the introductory information, and then we have to do neuropharmacology so that you understand a lot of the other drugs. It'll make sense as you kind of go through it. But we also look at other factors like core patient variables and application of the nursing process with drug therapy and drug therapy across the lifespan. So it's basically a really important course, and it forms that foundation for your future nursing courses. And it really is an integral part of your professional nursing practice. A lot of this settles into as you take other courses, because pharmacology does have a lot of information. And as you, go through future courses or you take clinicals, a lot of it kind of settles in and sinks in. Course objectives is kind of related to the description that I just kind of went through. In terms of prerequisites, like I already mentioned, your A&P course, your pathophysiology, and that's really important because it really, pharmacology really stems off of your pathophysiology or your understanding of pathophysiology. You'll find that as we move through a lot of areas, that pharmacology or the drugs actually work through our normal body mechanisms or different areas of our body. So you have to understand that pathophysiology and the physiology in order to understand the drugs well. So it's important to remember. And I do try to tie a lot of pathophysiology review videos within our Moodle books. So there's a lot of areas that are there to supplement, the course and basically review them if you feel like if you feel like you have the need to do so. So as I mentioned, it relies on your previous knowledge. It's an essential building block for this course. So basically review this area as needed. In terms of the required textbook, we use Lean's Pharmacology for Nursing Care, and this is actually a new edition. It's the 10th edition, the 2018 textbook. You can order it at the OU bookstore. They should have it on campus, or you can order it online, or you can even order it online through other websites as well. All the readings will be posted on Moodle, and I have that kind of set up on there. And actually, I will add another video going through Module 1, so that way you kind of understand how to approach the content, and I'll explain exactly what everything is. Recommended references, these are not obviously mandatory. These are just some areas that you can think about using. One that I've previously used a lot was Epocrates, and I know you can get the Epocrates, like the limited version of it, online for free. And I believe you can look through pharmacology, and you get the pharmacology portion for free. It's a great tool to use. There's tons of different resources online, obviously, but make sure that you're using one that is evidence-based. You have to make sure that it's based on evidence and current medicine, essentially, in the U.S. The other one that I personally use a lot is Up to Date. It's very expensive, but you can gain access to it through the OU library system. It's probably got more than what you need, definitely more than what you need. But it's a good resource to look at in terms of, if you need to look up drugs or something like that. Same thing with Dynamed. I've never really used Dynamed, but I know individuals that have, essentially. The other recommended reference, and I didn't add it on here because you might want to wait until you start med-surg rotations, is like a drug guide for nurses. It's like a little handbook that you can get, and it's the one that I have is Davis's drug guide for nurses, and there's multiple different drug guides, but like I said, you may want to wait to get it because they may want you to get a certain one for med-surg. I'm not exactly sure, but the good thing with them is that it goes through like the nursing management, and it also goes through like IV compatibility, what you can put in certain tubing, what you cannot, whereas like Epocrates Up to Date, those don't have any of that nursing management in there. It's more medical or medicine-based, I should say. But Davis's Drug Guide for Nurses is a good little handbook to have, and you may want something like that. That's up to you. Class format, it's an online format, so obviously we participate in asynchronous activities. I do have synchronous activities like the WebEx, and I do record them if you cannot make it. So we have online discussions, web assignments, or quizzes. The web assignments are basically our discussions, and I'll go through that in a few. So we don't meet in a traditional sense. So basically you're meeting within that window frame, essentially. And basically refer back to the course calendar, but always look at our course Moodle site because the course calendar is a tentative schedule. It usually doesn't change, but always, obviously double check on our course Moodle site. Rules of netiquette, I think you guys kind of all have an idea about this, and it's basically to promote an open exchange of ideas. So at no point is it appropriate to put any inflammatory language on there or inflammatory responses. We're all here to learn from one another, and everybody should feel comfortable posting their thoughts. So obviously we want to make sure that we're maintaining a positive environment within our discussion forums. Using Moodle, I think you guys already kind of know that, but like I said, there's some good resources through the university website. In terms of late assignments or missing assignments, it's usually not too much of an issue because I do give you guys a pretty good window of opportunity to finish the assignment. But essentially, if it's marked down, or I'm sorry, if it's late, 1 day, 2 days, etc., it just basically goes down by 10% for every day that the assignment is late. Obviously, if you're having an issue or there's something going on, make sure you just email me and let me know to make me aware. So I just have, that policy up there with missing assignments. Computer access, like I mentioned at the beginning, you do want to try to use your regular computer. It's not recommended to use smartphones or tablets. And make sure that you have really good internet connection when you go to take a test or a quiz, because you don't want that to crash essentially when you're taking one. Once again, if you have a problem though, make sure you just let me know. Technical skills, I think you can read through this. Evaluation methods, it consists of different areas. We look at case studies, so that's your assignments, and it's mainly these case study discussion questions that we'll have. And then we have course quizzes, exams. There's 2 exams, a midterm and a final. If you're having difficulty, with the quizzes or anything like that, make sure, kind of think back. How are you studying? Review the quizzes, look at the questions, because sometimes that's another area, and I put it in a pharmacology study tip file, but nursing style questions can be different and difficult at first. It's a hard area, and I try to go through some questions as I go through some of the lectures, because you'll find that when you're looking at the answers, two of the answers might seem right, but there's one answer that's better, and you have to pick the best answer essentially for that situation. But if you're having difficulty with this, obviously reach out to me. I'm here to help you, even with things like that. So make sure you just let me know. I'm always here to help you. Exams, like I said, we have an online midterm and online final. They're non-cumulative, meaning that we have the midterm that covers weeks 1 through 6, and the final covers, I believe it's 7 through 13. It does have those NCLEX style questions. And that's why we, integrate them within the courses, because you do have to get used to taking those types of questions, essentially, because that is how your NCLEX exam will be. And your NCLEX is essentially your state boards for your nursing license when you're finished. So a lot of them are application or critical thinking type questions. Course quizzes, same thing. They're very similar to the midterm and final. So the course quizzes are actually a great way to prepare for that midterm and final. And I integrate a lot of quizzes within the course, not only to assess your strengths and weaknesses, but it also facilitates a higher level learning. It creates that process to help you master the course content. It kind of, I always tell students, try not to view them as a test. Look at them as like a learning activity. It'll help you identify those areas where you're not picking up on, or it'll help you focus on your studying. And it'll help you get used to taking those types of questions. So try not to view the quizzes as a test. I know it's easy for me to say, but I always tell students that. Don't look at them as a test. If you miss an answer here or there, it's not a big deal. Go back and review it once the quiz closes, to see why you got it wrong. And that's the other thing. I always put a lot of detailed answers on the course quizzes, rationales. So after it closes, I definitely recommend that you go back in and look at those questions and look at the rationales, because I'll explain in detail why the answer is what it is or why it's not. So that's an important area that I always tell students to look at as well. Course assignments within our course modules, our assignments essentially consist of case discussions, and all the details or the instructions will be on the course Moodle page once you click on the case discussion. And it's the same kind of thing, like I'll open it up towards the beginning of the module, and then you have, towards the end of the module to, add your discussion response. But it helps you apply the material, and it helps you understand, like, the areas that you need to integrate within nursing practice. Once we open them up, you'll get a better understanding as how they run, essentially. Grading totals, so this is basically how, grade is derived. So course quizzes, 25%, midterm exams, 30, final is 30, and assignments, 15. So the assignments, like I said, those are the case discussions that we do. Once again, like I said, in order to progress through the program, you have to get a 75% in the course. Unfortunately, a 74.9 is not considered a 75%, so just to make you aware. Academic conduct and professionalism, like I mentioned, it's more of like that netiquette with online assignments, making sure that no one's sharing answers, no one's sharing exam questions, not sharing resources. Obviously, I have it all written on there. You could read this. Plagiarism, you got to be very aware of that. Making sure that your work is your work and not another classmate's or not another resource off the internet. I think you guys kind of got this by now. Academic penalties, it basically follows the School of Nursing Handbook and the Oakland University policies as well. Same thing, academic conduct, like I mentioned. This is the university policies, and you can also look through the nursing handbook as well. Add drop policy, be familiar with that. There's certain dates, obviously, that you have to be aware of if you are potentially dropping the course. Special considerations, I mentioned this in Part A. If you need any letter, or if you need a letter of support, or if you need any help, the numbers here are available for you. Course evaluation, like I already mentioned, we definitely appreciate, or I appreciate, if you would fill out the course evaluation. In terms of expectations for myself and for students, for you to be successful in the class, it's obviously become familiar with the course structure and review the course intro video like this, and I will have a video that goes over the first module as well. Take a look at that pharmacology study tip located in Moodle, because it definitely will help you understand how to approach studying pharmacology. It's a little bit difficult at first because we go through the neuropharm part, but as we move through, it'll make more sense. Make sure you attend class meetings, participate in course discussions and activities, obviously do your assignments, stay caught up with and review lectures, the videos, the assignments, etc. on a weekly basis. And I'll explain this as we go through the calendar because I have it set up into modules. Your readings, obviously read and comprehend the textbook and any supplemental readings posted. Your readings, and I put this under Course Moodle book, especially if you look under the week 1 topics and readings. I always suggest, because there's a lot of content, to basically kind of start with lectures and read concurrently while you're going through lectures, because it'll help you streamline the areas that you need to kind of pick up on with your readings. It'll help you kind of streamline that process a little bit. Make sure you're completing the required quizzes and exams on the dates. Review course quizzes after the closing date for specific rationales, like I already mentioned. Stay up to date with course announcements. So the course announcements actually will link back to your OU email. So make sure that you're checking your OU email and looking at the course announcements as well. And that's located on our Course Moodle site. Always ask for help if you have a question or if you need further clarification. I'm always willing to help students. I enjoy working with students, so don't ever hesitate contacting me. Respond to your emails, respect rules of netiquette, participate in a thoughtful manner. And on my end, it's my responsibility to make sure that we have an effective learning environment through our activities, discussion, and lecture. Provide you obviously with a grading scale and detailed grading formula, informing you of policies, arranging to meet with you as required, moderate discussions, respond to email. I'm very, very good about responding to email. If you don't hear from me for, a day, go ahead and email my OUE account because I'm usually really, really good about emailing back. So if for some reason I missed it, you can go ahead and email that as well. Most importantly, I'm here to help you succeed. I'm always here to help. So just let me know if you need anything. Tips for online courses, you can read this through on your own. Obviously, stay on track. There's no traditional in-person lectures. We don't have that face-to-face time. So I do try my best to try to simulate this through an environment using different videos, recorded lectures, and WebEx meetings. I always encourage students to reach out to me and to maintain active participation within the course. Review the course schedule closely and plan ahead. The due dates kind of come fast and frequent in online courses. And pharmacology really has a lot of content. That first few weeks, there's essential concepts that you have to make sure you're getting. So the first few weeks, I know it's a lot, but just try to put a lot of effort into it. It does get easier as we move through, I promise. If you need any help, obviously let me know. And be sure to check Moodle frequently, every day. You should be checking it every day, if not every other day. Keep up to date with important announcements, so check that announcement forum, check your email, and new content sometimes I'll have posted as well. Online courses, obviously make sure that you have a workplace free of distractions to kind of help you complete assignments and study. And those are the technical support numbers. Real quick, I'm going to go through the course calendar briefly just so you have an understanding of the course setup. So like I said, I have them divided out into modules, so module 1, 2, 3, etc. But I also have them split into weeks, week 1, week 2, because a lot of students want to stay on that weekly basis, and I actually suggest you stay on the weekly basis because there's a lot of content. However, I have it set up so that all the assignments, well, I shouldn't say all assignments, I should say the quizzes are due at the very end of module 2. So you have any point in time between week 1, week 2 to complete your quizzes. So there's a quiz for this section and there's a quiz for this section. And you have until the 16th to take the quizzes. Most students, I would say, stay on the weekly schedule. So they'll do this week, they'll go through all this material, then take their week 1 quiz. And then start on this material, do their week 2 quiz. It's up to you. If you want to wait until the end and do both quizzes, that's totally fine. It's up to you. Case discussions, you have to look for the due dates. All the due dates are going to be on our course Moodle site under that discussion forum. Typically, what I usually do is I'll post the questions for the forums, and typically it'll be due like, midweek of that second week. It'll be due like this week, and then, you just have to post a follow-up response to a classmate. So it's kind of towards the tail end of the module, but you have to look in the on our course Moodle site to look at specific dates. For the first week, we also have an introduction forum, and look through that too. So click on that when you get on our course Moodle site. Same thing. So each one, we have a module, but it'll run in bi-weekly and weekly. So it's up to you if you want to stay on a weekly or take the quizzes at the end. It's up to you. And it's the same thing. It just basically repeats again. Case discussions for module 2. Same thing for this. Case discussions for module 3, and then you have the 2 quizzes that are due at the end of this week. I do put up a survey for a course WebEx prior to our midterm to kind of go over a Q&A or a question and answer session, and go over any questions that you may have for the midterm. Once again, the midterm exam's online. I typically have it open all day from 7 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., covering weeks 1 through 6. The midterm is very similar to the quizzes. I would say there's usually right around like 55 to 60 questions on it. And I usually give you a good enough time, like, typically like an hour and a half to complete the midterm. So same thing, after the midterm, we go right back to the other schedule that we normally have. Module 4, Module 5, we have Thanksgiving break. Typically, I open this section up a little bit early. Obviously, you don't have to do it over break, but some students always inquire about me opening it up early, and sometimes I will. So this is the last module. We do not have a quiz for this section because right before final exams, we cannot have quizzes. So our last quiz will just be covering this area, and it will be due on the 2nd. Same thing, I will hold a WebEx for the final basically a final review or Q&A review, and I'll put up a survey for that as well. The 9th, University Study Day, and then the 13th is scheduled for our online exam, and once again, it's usually open from 7 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. And it's very similar, once again, like the midterm, and it's usually like 55 to 60 questions. The course schedule is subject to change. It usually stays the same, but I always say go by what's on our Moodle site. I always have the dates on there, the assignments, the readings, all that is on our course Moodle site. So make sure that you're obviously checking that frequently and looking at everything on there. So I welcome you to Nursing Pharmacology, and I'm looking forward to a great semester with all you. If you have any questions, obviously, please feel free to reach out to me. And when you get a moment, there will be a posting going over that first module, just so you have an idea of where to start with the course content. Take a look at that when you have a moment. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks, and take care.